What if I told you that this constant feeling of being burned out, feeling behind, and chronically overwhelmed is caused by one single ADHD trap you're most likely not even aware of? I'm talking about this feeling that there's so much to do every single day while suffering from executive paralysis and not completing any of it, which usually leads to trying to make up for it the next day, making you feel even more behind, overwhelmed, and burned out. It can feel like having a big stone attached to your leg that's pulling you down. Sound familiar? I was trapped in this negative spiral for quite some time, until I realized that it's all caused by one single ADHD trap that I kept falling into. This very trap is why 93% of people with ADHD experience burnout even when they don't work a lot. So if you feel like this, you are not alone. Almost all of us do. But the good news is that in this video, I'll share with you exactly what this ADHD trap is and how you can easily stop falling for it each and every day. By implementing the things I'll share with you in a second, you'll be able to go from being chronically stressed and overwhelmed to living in complete balance, making consistent progress on everything that's actually important to you. By the way, this is all coming from someone who's worked in a high-pressure sales environment for over 3 years, got promoted 4 times in those 3 years to become the youngest sales director in the company, and who now pushes out 3 pieces of content per week for the last 3 years, all without feeling the effects of burnout. Trust me, if I can do it, you can too. I want you to picture yourself working. You're sitting down at your laptop at the beginning of the day and getting started. You start typing, and hour by hour, the invisible trap with its 5 different layers slowly starts to reveal itself. You remember that you have an assignment at work that's due tomorrow, and all of a sudden, you're getting into the zone, typing harder and faster. Time seems to fly by. You're beginning to ignore all your surroundings. You kind of like this, but why? Well, because it's extremely difficult for you to do things in moderation. Think about it. When was the last time you did something in moderation, where you kind of half-assed it? Chances are it's been a while. You probably either didn't do it at all or tried doing it all at once, especially if there was a deadline looming large. This is mainly because you have a dopamine dysregulation in your brain, which leads you to often seek activities that provide a strong dopamine boost, leading you to go all in on tasks that are highly stimulating. However, when the task isn't stimulating enough, you usually struggle to engage at all. In this case, tomorrow's deadline seems to be helping. And once you're in, you're looking to ride that wave of focus without letting go. You can go on for hours without drinking or eating in complete tunnel vision. Your mouth is dry and your eyes become red. This is the first nail in the trap. You think that hyperfocus makes you invincible. You keep working. You need to complete this project by tomorrow after all, otherwise, what will your boss say? After some time, you get this weird feeling in your chest. You notice a tightness, almost heaviness there. It's a familiar feeling, something that's driven you to execute every single day for as long as you can remember. You realize it's fear. Fear of failure, fear of being judged as lazy, fear of being rejected. You realize that it's your #1 motivator to keep you going, because the absolute worst feeling would be letting other people down, exposing yourself as the true lazy person that you are. In truth, you're just an imposter pretending to have it all together. Right? Your self-talk is extremely negative. You overwork yourself to please others and don't look out for yourself. And even though this has always helped you to get stuff done and you've received praise because of it, this is in fact the second nail in the trap, being driven by insecurity. At this point, your brain literally can't do it anymore and you realize you need a break. You heard online that you should really try to de-stress yourself after working. Get away from your screen and try to relax. You close your screen and look around, but you inevitably feel pain just sitting there and doing nothing. It's just too boring. And so you pick up your phone and start scrolling for a few minutes and then get back to work. For some reason, you don't feel any more relaxed. Your brain needs fast dopamine from your phone because of the amount of effort you've put it through, which feels like something that will help you get back on track, but is in fact the third nail in the trap, taking the wrong kind of breaks. You keep working. After all, you need to finish this project in the next 9 hours. You start asking yourself why you haven't started sooner. Why are you only able to work when you're stressed and there's a deadline looming large? You thought you had enough time to get this done today. You try to motivate yourself to keep going. You often underestimate how long something will take because your ADHD brain is blind to the passing of time. Sometimes time passes super fast. Other times it passes super slow. This also plays into your all or nothing mindset because on one day you'll want to get it all done all at once. This leads to life becoming a rushed chase for something just out of reach, which leads to pervasive anxiety. While this has always worked in the past despite of the stress, it is in fact the fourth nail in the trap, underestimating time. You keep working. You realize at this point, it's been 16 hours and you need to sleep. You move from your laptop directly into bed and try to get some shut-eye. But for some reason, you just can't stop thinking about the project. There's still so much to do, and how are you gonna get it done within the next few hours tomorrow? Your heart starts racing, and before you know it, the alarm clock rings and it feels like you didn't get any sleep whatsoever. Your brain is attracted to negativity because it's stimulating, which keeps you awake and is the final nail in the trap, not getting rest. Overall, your workdays seem hollow and rushed. These days then multiply into weeks and months, and soon it's difficult to get out of bed and continue. You snap more easily, binge eat more food, and live to work instead of work to live. Things that you used to enjoy, like having genuine conversations with loved ones, become difficult because you're mentally and emotionally completely exhausted and drained. At this point, the trap is in full effect and it is very difficult to escape. The complicated reality is that a lot of us are anxious overachievers whose brains are very difficult to shut off, and overthinking as well as perfectionism only make things worse. So how do you open or avoid this trap? If you're currently stuck in it, how can you get back out of it? To start walking, heck, running again. Get back to being energized by life instead of drained by it. Is this even possible? Spoiler alert, this video wouldn't exist if that was not possible. And once you escape the trap or learn how to avoid it altogether, you'll not only live a life free of constant stress, but one of more balance and peace. What we need to understand is that work-life balance works differently for ADHD. Let's dive into how we can get there by following my 5-step check-in system for ADHD balance. Step 1, the breath. First of all, you gotta catch yourself while you're working before it's too late. It's incredibly important to take mindful moments throughout your workday to assess how you feel. Even if you're in hyperfocus, take a breath and ask yourself what you need. Maybe it's water or a walk. I know, taking mindful moments sounds really boring, but it can actually be incredibly stimulating. How? Once we get interested in our inner experience. Taking a deep breath and really asking ourselves, what do I need right now? What do I feel like right now? Am I pushing things a bit too hard? What am I being motivated by right now? What do I need right now? And then trusting whatever comes up. Building in reminders on your phone to do this every few hours. This is just the first step though. Step 2, the cutoff point. Second, you gotta give your brain time to recharge the ADHD way. The same way you go into work all or nothing, you can't half-ass a break. You gotta take a 100% break, meaning you gotta have clear cutoff points both in the mornings and in the evenings. These have to become non-negotiable for you. If you end up having some thought about work that you really don't want to forget, you gotta get it out of your head. Write it down on a notepad or on your phone so you stop obsessing about it. The morning is just as crucial as the evening. For me, I don't check my phone 1 hour after waking up, so I don't start my day obsessing about work. The first thing you show your brain in the morning is what it's gonna keep coming back to, especially if it's dopamine inducing and you have ADHD. Instead, I write down 3 things I'm grateful for or go for a walk or run to get my brain primed and obsessed about positivity instead. If I get to work at 9 a.m., I then also have a sharp cutoff point at 6 p.m. I don't check my emails, I don't check my Slack messages because I know if my brain sees something small about work, the risk of triggering it to obsess about it is huge. Remember, our brain doesn't do moderation. Even if something could easily be done tomorrow, I know my brain often wants it all done right now. Especially if it's close to bedtime, I end up not sleeping, which sets off the trap we touched on earlier. I know. Right now, you're probably thinking, this sounds great, but how can I get my ADHD brain to take this break? How can I shut it off? It never goes off. Step 3, the daily breaks. Indeed, I have good news for you, my friend, because we are not trying to shut off your ADHD brain here. We know that this is an impossible feat. Remember, work-life balance works differently if you have ADHD. And so instead of flying to the beach every day to read a book about 15th century art, you need to give your brain new and exciting escapes besides work daily that are not overstimulating or super expensive. Imagine a graph of stimulation. Let's say 0% is reading an uninteresting book at home and 100% is being at a loud party while drinking a beer and smoking cigarettes. We know that when you're bored, your brain will try to artificially stimulate you through thought. It will send you these worried pings of things you need to do. Negativity is incredibly stimulating. This is why for your break, you'll want to stay in the 50 to 60% range. You don't want to stimulate too low or too high, but you need something of high interest that takes over your mind and quickly helps it change lanes and delete worrying thoughts. Listening to your favorite music, taking a walk somewhere new in nature, exercising intensely, getting a deep tissue massage, connecting deeply with real friends, taking a drive, or diving into a thrilling new book or series are all ways I found perfectly take my ADHD brain away from work and actually help it recharge. While these activities may be different for you, what's really important is that usually you gotta do things that may seem like too much for others. This is because your brain often needs more to flip that switch. Sometimes it takes extremes, and that's okay because that's how your brain works. Approach strangers and give them sincere compliments. Try new food, take a cold shower, go go-karting, challenge your comfort zone. As long as it's not dangerous, do things that may seem crazy to others. The moment you're completely in the moment is when your brain rests. It's when you stop overthinking because you feel alive. And since your brain is dopamine deficient, it's crucial that you find novelty in these breaks because novelty gives you dopamine. If you take drives, maybe this time you take a drive to the other side of town. If you go for a walk, maybe this time you explore that park that you've always wanted to go to, and so on. Don't get settled in strict break routines that are always the same because that will feel like work, and that's exactly what we want to avoid here. If you're not sure if you're rested, ask yourself, does your brain feel less full after or more? Realize the difference between the right kind of breaks and the wrong kind of breaks. The right kind of breaks are things that you really want to do. The right kind of breaks leave you with more energy, ready to tackle whatever comes next. And if that doesn't work, there's always step 4, fire breaks. Shout out to Katie Friedman for this one. A fire break is a necessary break that you take before the whole forest burns down. It's about not just doing something different during or after your endeavors, but about taking a day, a few days, or even a few weeks off to replenish your perspective and energy. But these are meant to be invigorating brain breaks, not attempts to relax. Taking a day off and doing something completely different. Doing something that stimulates your brain to think about completely different things. Switching up environments, meeting new people, doing things you don't usually do or have never done. This can once again be about challenging your comfort zone, but this time for a longer duration. And a bonus side effect of this, it may not only help you de-stress your brain and prevent overthinking about work, but will even help you regain a sense of novelty for your work once you come back, which may just increase the motivation for your work like never before. I make sure to always take my weekends off to do something completely out of the ordinary. And I always try to work from different environments during the week to give my brain the novelty that it needs. And I'm fortunate enough to be able to travel to a new place every few months, which gives me the inspiration and motivation I need to keep producing content for all of you. I see it as an investment into my work rather than a break from it. If you still feel stressed or overwhelmed after following these 4 check-in steps, it's time to move on to the last and probably most important step. Step 5, question who you're doing it for. Why are you doing what you're doing? No, seriously, I know it's a difficult question. Who are you really doing it for? Are you maybe trying to elevate your self-worth through accomplishment and productivity? Are you trying to have people see you differently? Or are you doing something you genuinely want to do? Let's talk for a second. Just me and you. Come on. A lot of us ADHD anxious overachievers have internalized an inferiority complex. It's a big topic, but in its shortest form, we deeply believe that we are not good enough and that others are better. We then try to overcompensate for this lack of self-belief with work, all the while not knowing that this in itself is a trap, because you will never fill that inferiority hole with externalities, things that are outside of you. It has to come from within. You have to start believing that you, your brain, your personality, you are an amazing human being. It's true. And if you don't see it yet, I'm sure that you will very soon. Once you learn to say no and set boundaries on your time, once you're in tune with yourself and no longer seek external validation, is when you escape this trap for good. Remember to follow these 5 steps. Write them down, pin them on your wall so you don't forget, and so you can consistently thrive without burning out. But I know what you might be thinking right now. Yes, Nick, it sounds amazing to have more downtime, take more breaks, and so on. But I'd still struggle with actually getting things done when I'm not taking a break. And at the end of the day, I'd still worry about all those undone tasks that I couldn't even allow myself to take these breaks. And you're right. The key to getting in more downtime is also being able to be productive when it counts, which is incredibly hard for us ADHDers who are chronically paralyzed and suffer from immense procrastination. But luckily, I also recently released a video on my channel where I reveal my complete system to overcome ADHD paralysis and procrastination. It's actually super easy and works for almost everyone. Since I released this video, I got thousands of messages from ADHDers who got crazy results with it. Click the link in the video description to watch the video now. Thank you so much for watching, stay inspired, and I'll see you very soon.